Welcome to the first episode of Playing the Second Half, Summer 2026. 9 Saturdays, 9 stories, 9 wonderful people. And what a way to begin. Pontus has lived many lives, from a near-death experience as a young man to working as a fisherman in the Faroe Islands. His journey has been full of transitions, adventures, discoveries, and new beginnings. If there is one theme that captures Pontus' life, it is this: what lives between us. It is a theme that has shaped much of Pontus' life and work and his lifelong quest for the magic and wisdom that lives between us. Just days after we recorded this interview, Pontus was awarded the Penguin Prize, Organizational Psychologist of the Year 2026. And I can understand why after our conversation. He literally lights up when he speaks about people, relationships, and what we can achieve together. And now for the fun part. We may actually have the legendary Swedish filmmaker Ingmar Bergman to thank for Pontus becoming a psychologist in the first place. To find out why and much more, enjoy this conversation. Hello, Pontus.
Hi, Geraldo. Great to see you.
Yes, very much. The summer is starting, so we can stay outside like this, which is wonderful. And so happy to have you here, starting the series on the second half this summer. And Pontus, I know you very much from the work you're doing with inner development goals, responsible for the whole global community, amazing stuff. And but then you do so many other things. I think I try to find, and it's probably after the interview and our chat, a thing, but I see you as constantly moving, right? You're a psychologist. You do playback theater that I hope you're going to tell a little bit more about it. Leadership development in several formats and very exciting as well. And I mean, we have a saying in Brazil that I love, is my favorite, that crocodile that stands still becomes a bag, you know? So maybe that's another theme for you, right? We want to hear everything about you and your life. What brought you here, where are you going? And also this summer 2026, that's not gonna come back. And, but why not start more of little Pontus, what defined you as a person, the first half, so to say, the early days of Pontus as even a small child, wherever you want to start, okay? And we go from there.
Yeah, I think a word that comes to me is a curious person. I was always a curious person, an explorative person. And I can remember myself as a small child before starting school, you know, being quite energetic and also very free. But the moment I started school, it felt like I got constricted, and school was not really for me, at least not, you know, the first 12 years in school. I was scared as I started school, and I was, you know, developing patterns of kind of avoidance, not daring to interact with the others. I was super scared by a boy who had threatened me, so I actually didn't want to start school. As I started the fourth class or fifth class, things started to change, and I had this insight that, you know, I realized that I was run by fear and that I was avoiding things. And it was almost as if I've been reading the meter in reverse. You know, if you think of a Geiger meter that starts to beep the closer it comes to the danger of the radioactive substance. Instead, I realized that it was like a metal detector where you look for a treasure in the ground, and the more sound it makes, the closer you come to the treasure.
Yes.
And that realization made me actually start to challenge myself, start to put myself in situations where I had to grow. And I think that has been kind of a life pattern since then.
Mhm.
You know, a strategy that means that I put myself in situation where I have to develop, where I have to stretch, where I have to learn.
Pontus, and you said there was a boy that threatened you, was it?
Yeah, exactly. He, you know, this was just before I was going to start school, and he told me that he would kill me because I had, you know, ruined the lawn of his family. I was a friend with his little sister, and we went home to their garden. It was in the spring, the same year I was going to start school, and they had changed all the windows in the house. So all the old windows were lying on the lawn flat.
Just waiting for you.
Yeah, and we had, you know, rubber boots, and you know, I don't remember who said it, but you know, one of us said, so that means we could basically, you know, jump on these windows, and it was, I remember it was a fantastic experience to crush all this glass, but I didn't understand the consequences, and then, you know, her brother came up to me one day and just said, "You ruined our garden, and I'm going to kill you." And that made me so scared, and that fear, you know, just ruled my first years in school.
Yeah.
So basically the first year of you know of um, yeah, of the first year of school, I ran to the toilet every break and locked myself in, not to risk meeting him in the corridors.
Right.
So it was very much about avoiding the scary thing, avoiding feeling scared, and having fear rule me.
I am laughing here, but it must be unimaginable the fear actually that you felt. I mean, it's like for a kid, small kid.
Yeah, it was totally existential. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then if we fast forward, I think another key thing that happened, well, actually the accident or the terrible event happened when I was around 5 years old, when my sister died. This was my half sister. So my mother had two daughters from her previous marriage, and Emma was her name. She got sent to a boarding school, and one day she was found with, you know, a container of glue in front of her nose in her room, and she was not possible to save. She died. She died, I think, on the way to the hospital or at the hospital. And that also became like a family trauma. Basically, every piece of memorabilia, every photo from her was eradicated from the house, and this was a non-topic. This was something we didn't talk about. So something that I was grown up with was, you know, inauthenticity. You know, we don't talk about the difficult things. Another pattern of avoidance, if you want. So I think that was also something that was a really important kind of foundation for me to realize that authenticity and daring to speak about what is real and what is true and what is important is, you know, something that I hold very highly. And I've been gravitating towards people who are authentic and who are role models in that. I think one of the first role models in that sense for me was Margot Russell. Margot Russell was the mother of Jeff Russell, who was a friend of mine. I met him in Greece when I was, I think, 18 or 19. And I went to visit him in the UK where he lived. And Margot, she was then an ex-banker that had started to work with psychosynthesis. So she was a teacher in psychosynthesis, and she was eventually the one who brought psychosynthesis to Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she became like the mother that I could speak about everything with, that I couldn't do with my mother. I mean, I loved my mother. She was fantastic. She was super intellectual and very social and intelligent in so many ways. She spoke 7 languages, and she was fantastic. But she was closed off. She was closed off from her heart, closed off from her feelings. Mm. And it's interesting that I became a psychologist because, I remember it wasn't many years before she died. She died in 2022. That she said, "Oh, Pontus, why do we have to dig inside? What is the point of digging inside?"
And I'm impressed that instead of following that pattern, that we chose the opposite. So it's interesting how the fact that they suppressed so much because of this tragic thing that happened with your sister.
Yeah.
You chose the opposite, authenticity.
Mm.
Just out of curiosity, what is psychosynthesis? Just briefly, just so I understand.
So psychosynthesis is like a therapeutic tradition. It is quite related to Gestalt therapy, but it adds a transpersonal perspective that there is, something higher, a higher self or a higher consciousness that we can relate to. So Assagioli was very inspired by Eastern philosophies, and by Jung and by Freud.
Okay. Was it the inspiration for you to become a psychologist later than this meeting?
I think it was one of the inspirations. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was always interested in people, and I thought when I was, in my late teens and early 20s that I was going to change the world from the stage. So I studied to become an actor. I spent a lot of time practicing and studying acting. I was taking trainings with Doreen Cannon at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. That was really a transformative event for me. She was a fantastic teacher. Yeah. Because I experienced that she could see me. Mm-hmm. She could really see me, and she could see what my next step was. So her way of giving feedback just on kind of the learning or leading edge on where I was helped me develop years in a couple of weeks when I was working with her, because she could truly see me. At least that's how I experienced it, and that's how I also felt that I really expanded in her classes.
Yes. That you like this with people. I heard this story, and you have to tell this one on one of your first jobs with selling detective. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, when I was studying, I was working, evenings. I was sitting in the basement together with other people, calling housewives, and this was like, early mid 80s. So people were still answering their phone when someone ran in the house, right? So I would, so my task was to sell a year-long consumption of detergent to housewives. And I realized quite quickly that I was not working as the other salespeople, because what we were trained to do was to call as many people as possible, because the more people you call, the more opportunities you get to sell. But I was more interested in the person I was talking to. So I was having long conversations with these people about life, about everything. And, you know, I I probably called 1/10 of the number of calls like the other people called, but I sold twice as much. So it was like a conundrum for those that I was working with. How is this possible? But I would have a call with someone, and eventually, in a deep conversation, they would ask me, so tell me about what this product you're selling. What is it? And then I would tell them, and they would say, oh, I would like to try that. I mean, not every call, but many calls were like that. Yeah. So one evening, I was having this conversation with a woman. Most of them were women, I think like 95%. And I start to feel this strange sensation in my body. I could feel energy rising in my body. I could feel my heart and my belly. And, I decided to tell that to her. So I said to her, as we are sitting here talking now, I feel that something is happening in my body. Something is, there is something there. And then she was like, oh, well, maybe that is because I'm a healer. And so we became friends. I started to go to her as a healer, and she would draw things to me, and she would also sing to me. And she said this is her way of kind of transmitting whatever healing power she had. And yeah, I mean, my explanation of it was that something there was opened up, something was awoken in me that I think I'm carrying with me still, which is this curiosity to the curiosity on what is between us. That it's this society we live in is so focused on the individual and the intelligence or the wisdom or the presence of the individual. But what I started to realize is that there is something between us that is bigger than you and me, and that has a high potential.
Yes.
And that's been a curiosity of mine. So when I went from, when I eventually gave up acting because I felt it was actually a terrible culture at the theater I was working. I was working as an extra at the Royal Dramatic Theater in Stockholm.
Yeah.
In Ingmar Bergman's King Lear. And, as when you're working in a theater like that, it opens up a lot of possibilities to meet interesting people and also to practice with interesting people. So I had the honor to practice for Stellan Skarsgård and for other people who were working at the theater then. But one day I was in the elevator alone with Mr. Bergman. And it was only, two flights to go from the ground floor up to the second floor. And as the doors closed, I felt this is my opportunity. I better take this opportunity. So I asked Mr. Bergman, I said, excuse me, sir, would it be possible to read for you, to practice for you? And he didn't even take notice of me. He didn't even look at me. He was just silent. And it felt like the longest elevator ride.
Oh my God.
Until we came up to the second floor and he went out and I stood there in the elevator and was like, what the fuck? And to me, that was kind of, the event that made me realize that the culture in this profession, people were not very nice to each other.
Nothing for you.
Yeah. So and then I had a few years when I was like, not knowing what I wanted to do. I trained to become a carpenter. I was traveling a lot. I worked as a fisherman on the Faroe Islands, lots of different things. And eventually I realized that I was kind of running away from the academic expectations from my upbringing.
Okay.
My father, he came from working class. He didn't have an academic degree. He got unemployed in his 50s and had to, go to a job that wasn't very satisfying for him.
Mhm.
And my mother, she came from academic background. So what I heard was like, don't become as your father. Remember to take an academic training. And I was fighting that. But after this experience with the theater and the traveling and trying to figure out what is mine to do,
Mhm.
I decided to apply to the university.
Fisherman in Faroe Islands.
On the Faroe Islands, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it must be a very hardship, but also a lot of money. I don't know how you ended up there.
Well, it's an interesting story in itself. I went there with a girlfriend,
Okay.
and of course I went there for the adventure, but also for the money, right?
Mhm.
So the thing there was that you wanted to get in on a boat because that's where the money was, right? But
Okay.
as I was waiting to get a seat on a boat, I worked in a big fishing factory, like a fillet factory
Uh-huh.
in Klaksvik in the Faroe Islands. And as a man in the factory, you're not allowed to fillet. You're supposed to carry the heavy trays of the fish. So I was standing by, this line together with a few other men. And I think, looking at this in retrospect, I think this is probably my first organizational development thing, because I soon realized that, the three guys who were working on the line, they were making the work that could easily be done by two. So I went to the foreman and I made a proposal to reorganize the line. And he said, well, that's a brilliant idea. Why don't we do that? And I got a bonus.
Nice.
But I was hated by the other people in the factory, the other men, because suddenly, it wasn't, you couldn't just,
Yeah.
hang around and take it easy. You had to work a bit harder to figure it out. But it was interesting, and it was cool that they took me up on the idea.
Yeah.
Eventually, I came into a boat,
Uh-huh.
and that is probably the toughest thing I've done to be a fisherman. I was the lowest in the rank of the boat, of course, so I had to do the dirty work, which was like cleaning fish, but also this was a trawler, so the scary thing was always when the boats came together to shift the trawler from one boat to the other. And the waves could be like 10-15 meters, so the boats were going like this. It was super dangerous, but I earned some money. The fishing adventure ended with an accident where I hurt my knee, so we had to go in early.
Uh-huh.
But we did catch a lot of fish, so I did earn some money, but I couldn't go on another boat.
And reorganize the way they work.
Yeah.
I think just if we can go back, the healer that you met.
Yeah.
Were you in need of healing at that time? Or was it just a nice acquaintance?
I wasn't aware that I was in need of this, but somehow she communicated with parts of me that I was not in contact with.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that definitely has helped me. It has helped me to kind of find kind of an inner compass, and to be more open to things that we normally aren't open to in this modern or postmodern society we live in.
It's so nice. I hear a bird. Is it on your side or my side?
I hear birds here.
I hear also bird, but I think it's here also. Nice.
Okay.
And Pontus, I heard, and maybe if you can describe something very dramatic, but in a positive way that you have been through, and it was some kind, as I understand, but maybe I'm completely wrong here. This near-death experience you had, if it's a fair way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that was similar to a near-death experience or a near-life experience, if you want. So this was also around the age of 20. My father got cancer, in pancreatic cancer, when I was 18, and he died. Yeah, I think it took less than 1.5 years for him to die. After his death, went into some kind of a depression where I isolated myself. I had moved away from home already when I was 17 with an older woman, but I had by then moved into my own apartment. So I was kind of locking myself into this apartment, again, avoiding people. And one evening, an old ex-girlfriend of mine came to my apartment and we had sex. And what I remember is that after the act, we were lying in my bed and I was looking up on the ceiling. And I had this kind of, sometimes when you fall asleep, you get this kind of spasm. So I had this spasm. And as I had it, I was thrown out into the universe through this kind of light tunnel. And it was a truly psychedelic experience. But I hadn't taken any drugs, but it was definitely, like a hallucinogenic experience. And the interesting thing was the insights that came to me, because it was like a salvation. It was like suddenly I had total self-compassion. And I felt compassion for humanity, and I had answers to all my questions that I had been pondering on for the year that I'd been locking myself in. Was an awakening. And the download that I got is very much, I think, still the, a foundation for my life philosophy and how I operate today. And I don't know what happened. I've been, thinking about what actually happened, what triggered it. Could it have been an endogenic DMT release from my brain that created this? Or I don't know. But the experience was extremely strong and extremely blissful. And it gave me this download that I carry with me today as well.
It's kind of a blessing you had. I mean, it's
yeah. I mean, yeah. It was like given the realization that we are all one. So it was a oneness experience that you hear people from near-death experience describe, but also people from deep meditative experiences or nature experiences or psychedelic experiences.
And that I hope we can also discuss how these experiences, how to say, are using today even in leadership programs, right? And so, have you talked to doctors? There is no explanation. I'm still there a little bit with my mind. No explanation. But that's
no, but I mean, you hear this description from others too that have been through near-death experiences or enlightenment experiences.
So then you are all these leading the meeting with Mr. Bergman. That, by the way, I mean, acclaimed as we all know up to today, here in Skåne, I am very close to Hovshaller. So sometimes I take that walk and I go exactly where it was played, the chess and the death.
Okay.
So I'm there. Once was this interesting experience, actually, that I was there completely alone. I had been alone and walking for 3 hours, if something happened, a lot of stones, if I fell or something, and sometimes you need to go in very difficult path, I know that it would take days if they ever find me, right? And I'm there where they play the chess with the death, and then this boat comes with a black sail. I never seen that in my life. I talked to the later on to a person that knows sailors, and it's not so unusual actually, black sails, but I had never seen. It just felt like, oh, this time he's coming with a boat. But we hear also that he could be very strange as a person, but we are so happy that you took the other path, right? And then you took the psychologist exam, and then what was it a good time at the university? Because Pontus, I can tell you one thing. For me, it was difficult at school, but for me it was even more difficult at the university. I still have nightmares.
Ah, really? No, for me, it was, coming to the university was really the opportunity for me to grow up and to also kind of get my self-confidence back as a student, because the first 12 years were terrible at school for me. I was dyslexic, and at that time in school there wasn't any, you didn't get, like aids or things like that. So I really struggled. I mean, it was easy for me to learn things, and I was good at maths, but the spelling, had its, the bad spelling had its effect on all the subjects. So I got low grades, and I also got low motivation. I felt that the pedagogy was not, something that I liked, and so I went out with really bad grades. So for me, the opportunity was to take the högskola test, the equivalent of the SATs. And when I did that, I got really, really good results. So I could choose whatever I wanted. If I wanted to become a medical doctor or a lawyer or a journalist or a psychologist, all those that are very difficult to get into, I could choose whatever.
Nice.
So then I decided to take a half year to do the foundations, psychology foundations, and I really liked it. So then I applied to the 5-year psychologist training. So I took it, and the university made it possible for me to kind of choose my own way of learning. So when I was studying, I was also working with psychology in the different fields that I was studying. So when I was studying child development, then I was working with children. When it was, when we were reading about psychiatry, I was working in Johan Kullberg's Fallskärmsprojektet, which was about psychosis and how to do early treatment for young people who were suffering from different kinds of psychosis. And when we were working with organizational psychology, I was working in organizations parallel to studying. And so that made it kind of concrete and possible to grasp and touch, because getting kind of learning from a book was not my thing. I could, of course, relate to, the theories and the models from the things I was working with. And it became much more kind of relevant for me. So then the studies went really well. And in the end, I was one out of 2 who actually ended the program in time, out of 36 people who started it at the same time. So
nice.
It was in a way a revenge for me.
I was thinking of that, telepathy.
Yeah, but it was a revenge. I could prove myself, to myself.
Yes. One thinking pop in my mind, do you think back in your mind the fact that your house sister then possibly took her life being something that inspired you to take psychologist?
No, I don't think so. I think it was mainly my interest for people, and going from acting and theater to psychology wasn't such a big step in a way, because also acting is very much about how do we work, and what about how do relationships work, and what happens, and so on. So I think it was more that. And maybe also subconsciously carrying on the legacy of my grandfather, who was a psychiatrist in the Netherlands.
Okay.
During the Second World War.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, then a tribute. One thing, man, that maybe comes in place here to ask you is because you still work as an actor, but in a different context. Is this playing back theater that maybe not everybody is aware of what it is? Can you please just explain what you do there?
Yeah, I can. I just need to move myself because the sun is starting to come in my eyes.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I'm positioning myself here instead. Yeah, so playback theater. So when I, if you go from the studies at the university, where I immediately got interested in group dynamics, and also actually started to teach group dynamics at the end of my education to the younger students. That kind of led me to starting to work with groups, and eventually larger groups. So one of my, I would say, still specialities is to work with large group facilitation. Having the whole system in the room, having a whole organization or a whole department or whatever. It can be 50, 100, or up to several hundred people in the room. That was kind of, I realized this is a skill of mine. This is something that I can do well. So then I was looking for methodologies and ways of working. And then I found a theater group, and they were called Theater X. This was in the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. So I started to bring them in, and what they did is that they were mirroring back the stories from the organization in kind of embodied, playing back the stories metaphorically. And it had such an impact on me. I felt that this method was like fantastic because it touched people beyond the brain. Like at work, we're very much talking heads. We're forgetting that we have a body and a stomach and a heart. But with the arts and with this specific methods, I realized that I could bring people in and people would be moved. They would laugh, they would cry, they would be touched. So that led me to be interested in this. And eventually this group Theater X, they realized that I also had theater backgrounds. So I was allowed into the group, and I started to practice it, study it. I've studied it a lot all over the world, also with the founders of this form. And yeah, it's been part of my life ever since. So today I'm a member of 2 playback theater groups. Tellus, that are playing back in English. It's an international group with people from different countries. And also Theater X, that I think now have existed for more. Yeah, we have been around for more than 25 years.
Very nice.
And it's an incredible tool to bring into work context. It's also a beautiful community building method.
Because I'm thinking it's a way for people to get to know each other as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm thinking, Pontus, on this back to the near-death experience, to have that once in a life. Don't you long to have that again somehow?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I think subconsciously I'm longing back to that oneness experience that I had. So, having that sense of complete, just being and, connected to everything. Of course, that was a fantastic experience. And if that's going to be what death is like, yeah, I'm welcoming it, but I'm not ready yet. I think I have still some more things to do here.
Yes. thinking one thing that, do you have kids? Or,
Yeah,
yeah?
I have three kids. I have two boys that are my biological sons, and then I have a bonus daughter,
Yeah.
and they are both adults now, or young adults. Yeah.
So I'm thinking Pontus now with all these experiences, all this movie. Are you ever going to retire?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I'm driven. I'm driven by this curiosity and this this longing for exploration and to understand more about myself, about the world, and why we are here. I think it's a fascinating adventure that we're on. And now with the new possibilities with AI and connectivity, how we can actually be together, wherever we are in the world like this. There are immense possibilities, and we're just in the beginning of a revolution.
Pontus, I'm so happy that you bring this up because there is so much, how to say, concerns about a lot of these things as well, like AI, right? And a lot of taking all jobs and so, but that you bring up the optimism and the possibilities, right? I mean, as you had dyslexia, I mean, the possibility that AI actually helps in so many ways, right? So I'm happy that you bring this.
I mean, I'm also concerned and scared, and I realize that there are many possible ways that this can go. AI can be something that can help us wake up, but it can also be something that can help us go the other way. And I think that's how it's up to us how we use it. But it's not written in stone, I think, where it's going to go.
No.
But I am fascinated by the possibilities, and if you think of the potential of a human being, I believe that we have a lot more potential than we are aware of as individuals. But if you look at it on a collective level, I think that the potential development of humankind as a collective is, we're using a fraction of our possibilities. And if you look at the world today, we live in a world that could help us actually live in abundance. There is enough for us all here.
Yeah.
But we are running on a scarcity program. We're running on internal programs that it is about me, and that we're gonna, the richest person when we die is the winner. What if that is not true? What if this system we live in is something that we can transcend or break out of, and actually realize that we're in this together?
I was in India just once. When you say that, I was in India just once, but there was this beautiful placard board, and I was with the car, and I took a picture, and it was a quote from Gandhi stayed in my mind, something along the lines, the difference what we can do and what we do would suffice to solve all the world's problems. Something along these lines. So it's exactly what you explained, the possibility.
Yeah, it's pointing to that potential. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my feeling and hope as well. I sent you a box, by the way, from Aladdin. I hope it arrived. So I have a question for you. Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
It's here.
So many chocolates from that box, from fisherman in Faroe Islands to all these experiences. Tell me a little bit about what chocolate still left that you're looking for.
Oh, well, so I have actually all of the pieces left in my box. I opened it, but I was like, I wonder if Geraldo wants me to actually eat them first or save them. So I've saved them for this occasion.
Okay. So tell me, what are the, you took some of them mentally, right? From, but then which ones are you're longing for, Pontus? And
Of these ones,
yes,
I mean, there are two that stand out for me. One is this piece.
okay,
If you can see it, it looks like a sun with rays.
yes,
This is to me a beautiful one. It's called nöttryffel. It's one of my favorite. And the other one is the gräddnougat. It's
oh,
also
nice,
amazing. Those are two of my favorites.
oh, nice, nice.
But you know, we are I would love to eat one now, but we're
Mm.
having this conversation in the morning, and you know, my daily routine is that I'm actually fasting in the mornings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not eating anything before like 1 or something like that in the morning. So I'm gonna save it to, you know, to the coffee in the afternoon.
Oh, that's wonderful. Pontus,
Mm.
I would like to ask a question. Know that we're going to have 9. This is the first one of a series.
Yeah.
But one thing that I don't know if I'm getting old. I retired, but I think a lot about time nowadays, because work for me, it was very stressful, very, very stressful my whole life. And so sometimes you feel that, this with presence and taking care of time. So so I have a number of questions now, maybe as we start to wrap up, is your view about time and how you use your time and how, yeah, this is summer 2026 that is about to start. And in Sweden, it's funny because all of a sudden it's midsummer. And then some weeks from now, when we are actually publishing this recording, then the days already start to get short.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are all the time reminded more of the time, especially here in Sweden compared to Brazil, where it's always sunny and about the same. The days are around the same length and so. But 10 years from now, message in the bottle, what was special with the summer of 2026? What are your plans and how you're going to make it unique and how you think about time?
Ooh, many questions.
Yes.
I mean, if I start to just say something about time, because I think that's, you know, one of the things that I'm still struggling with is in my life is time management. And I think it's because I have this hunger and this curiosity, and I say yes, and I'm curious. I want to be part. I want to contribute. So I say yes to a lot of things, and I feel that I'm also contributing a lot, but I do end up in time squeeze where I need to, you know, like stress to get things done. I sometimes stay awake long in the night to work, and I think I would really benefit from, and that's one of the things I'm playing with right now is to build myself a virtual secretary, a second brain, to help me manage time. But I think what I need to develop more is, you know, the discernment to see where is it actually that I'm needed, or where is it actually that I can be of service, or where I actually feel that that I'm sourcing something that I can bring to the world and that is good for me also.
Can I just one small question there?
Mm.
Still your time as psychologist now, almost. But in this aspect with time, because has been me my whole life, which means that then stress hit me at least twice, very, very strong, very, very strong. Anyways, are you a stressed person, or do you manage in a good way?
I mean, I would say that I'm not a stressed person, but I do experience stress at times.
Mhm.
But I think I have a good ability to manage or deal with stress or hold a lot of tension or complexity if you want.
That's good. Good to
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe contributing to not having had to deal with this time management issue.
Exactly.
Because my capacity has held it. I mean, I had a crisis when I was around 40, the same time as I was in a divorce, and that I also had some problems with my body, where I actually was on a sick leave for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I never kind of hit the wall in
Okay.
that sense. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, then it becomes reinforcing because you want to do so much, and then very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. But I think that's it. That is my challenge now. And if we speak about this summer, I want to have time to really get perspectives on what I do, so that I can come out of the summer with a clear view on what is it that I actually want to prioritize a bit more. I have some really interesting things ahead of me this summer. One of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Core Palace in Switzerland, where we have something called the Core IDG Forum.
Yeah.
On the topic of the alchemy of forgiveness.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's such a beautiful topic. It is, by the way, also one of the new skills in the revised IDG guide that was released in October 2025. So forgiveness is one of them.
Yes.
And I think forgiveness is a quality that humanity needs a lot of, because there is so much trauma, there is so much tension and bitterness.
Yes.
All around the world, from all the atrocities that are happening now, but also that has happened in history, both individual trauma, family trauma, and collective trauma. And I think the ability to forgive is a transformative ability. Yeah. It's not about, and it's actually not about being forgiven. It is about forgiving yourself, or actually realizing that if I can embrace forgiveness, it sets me free.
Telepathy. I was thinking exactly like this. Exactly about this, because it's forgiveness towards yourself as well.
Yeah.
Maybe Pontus, just for people listening, that IDG stands for Inner Development Goals. And then the idea and the initiative, there now is thousands of, it's a movement, right? That to achieve the development goals, we start
the sustainable development goals. Yeah,
it starts within ourselves. And so what you're saying is that all the values and skills that we have in the IDGs have been revised and included forgiveness. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And by the way, to me, the inner development goals is not necessarily about individual development. It is also about collective development. Yes. Or it's actually even more about collective intelligence. Yeah. Or collective wisdom, or collective agency. Yeah. Because that's where we're lacking. Yeah. If you look at the negotiations around peace, if you look at the negotiations around the sustainable development goals, Agenda 2030 and so on, we're not succeeding. We can't talk to each other. We get stuck in our own perspectives. We get stuck in the me perspective, and we don't manage to transcend system levels. Because I think we are sometimes asking the wrong question is, what can you have this meta crisis, polycrisis, whatever we want to call in the world today. And then sometimes I do that myself. What can I do? But it's wrong question. What can we do? Yeah. Start with. So understanding that's about the we. Very good. Pontus, we could stay hours here discussing, and I do want you to stay some few minutes, because I want to say hello to our friends at Clusters and other places. And this is a good opportunity. And you're in Stockholm, or no? So right now I'm just 20 minutes north of Stockholm by a little lake called Rösjön, so you can see it here. Yeah.
I am here in Skåne, but I'm coming to Stockholm on Wednesday. So I hope maybe we can meet each other on Friday if you are at Klustret. Otherwise, the next opportunity.
Yeah, let's see if that's possible. I'm heading into Klustret right now together with my colleagues in Gro, and we have invited some colleagues and friends around the topic of AI.
Okay.
So there's going to be an afternoon where we're going to dig into the opportunities and also risks with AI, specifically using it for human development and organizational development.
Wonderful. So should we say like this to our friends and wishing a great summer for everybody?
Yeah, have a great summer, everyone. And it was great talking to you, Geraldo.
It was really a pleasure, Pontus.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ciao.
Ciao.